Shalom, everybody. Again, my name is Rabbi Binyamin Rahmanov. I am here to present you an overview of certain halachic points. The specific overview that we'll do at this specific podcast will be the huge and development in regards to the use of Zoom on Seder night. To be clear, we are here to express and explain how it's supposed to be used if and when specifically you are given the heter to use it, the permission to use it. But we definitely need to understand the details behind what is actually said and how and who and when can it be used on Leil Seder. And it's specific to a specific subject line, specific to a specific group, and where that group is in position. It's not meant to be used blanketed throughout all Jewish Jewry of Orthodox Jewry. Even Reformed and Conservative, doesn't make a difference. It should not be used at all. And it's an exception to the rule of certain specific circumstances. So I hope I opened that intro up to build up for everyone to understand what is the situation at hand. Now, we have to understand in regards to medical and regards to health that to be healthy is not only to be healthy in regards to physical health or ailments or disease. It's also that a person has to be psychologically healthy. The more a person is psychologically strong, mentally strong, he's able to overcome any type of disease that's before him. To give an example, I have a source who told me that they're in the front lines in medical, and there was a woman who was transferred, an elderly woman who was transferred into the facility, and she went, right before she even went into the facility, she went cold blue and she passed away. There is a concept of giving up hope. And in blessed memory, may he be Harav Mori Rebbe Aharon Wolkin, who, Be'emet, I can say, I had a huge zchut right after I graduated from high school, where I learned and I went straight to Yeshivat Or Simcha, founded by Rabbi Yigal Chaimov. And I learned by Rav Wolkin. I learned by Rabbi Mordechai Ben Chaim, the son-in-law of Rabbi Yigal Chaimov. And it was very, very, it was a big experience that I had over there for that 1 year in 2001, 2002, after I graduated high school. And also before that, there was every Sunday where Walken used to give shiurim, and his shiurim were powerful back then. And, honestly, I think maybe later on it was more relaxed compared to the chap and the kop and the ability that he was able to introduce the most, powerful of concepts into the most simple ideas. And, in 2000, 2001, that was a huge experience I had over there. And I was very grateful. And he gave me a lot of advice, I spoke to him a lot of times, and he helped me a lot. There's no doubt about it. And, Alav Shalom, he was a giant, and he would have been one of the Gedolei Israel in the future. And there was not even a question in my mind about it. So, to me, he was always a Gadol B'Yisrael, because he always, he built up a lot of Jewry here in Queens and wherever he actually, presented himself. He was just that type of figure. So in regards to again, the last word that I saw Rabbi Wolkin say, and you can find that on TorahAnytime.com, he basically said that pachad, fear, is disease. And when a person has fear, it does break you psychologically. And a person really has to break that fear. He has to go beyond pachad. And one of the lessons that we definitely need to take away in the experience we as a community are having now is we have to fear God. And I realized something. What does fearing God mean? Fearing God means that do you fear God first? Okay. So am I fearing the disease first, or am I fearing God first? Am I fearing the outcome of what could happen, or am I fearing God first? So a person has to understand that to be a true God-fearing Jew, he actually has to understand that true fear has to come of God and not of a disease, a pandemic, a situation of money loss. You have to be able to be willing to accept that. You have to be able to be willing to adhere to that. And as we know, one of the biggest commentary mitzvot, or not mitzvot, but kavanot that we have in our mitzvah of prayer is that 2 times in prayer, we have to accept and the will of God that if he says, this is the time to go, this is the time to go. And we do this in 2 places. One, we do it in when we say Shmonai, say the first bracha, be'ahava, before Magen Avraham. And in that word, ahava, be'ahava, you have to have kavanah, that you're willing to give yourself up for the 4 mitot bedin, for the 4 rabbinical deaths, the rabbinical judgment deaths, the deaths of, not rabbinical, but the court's death penalties. But it's not really that you're just willing to accept it. You know, you got to be willing to accept it at any time, any moment. And the same thing when we do Nefilat Apayim, which is right after Shmonai Esrei, where we're coming down and we're saying Anna Hashem, and we're asking God for forgiveness. Or, you know, Ashkenazim have it differently. But you know, they don't do the Anna, some do not. And then you have, for sure, you say David Alecha. And at that moment, the David Alecha, you have to have, say, some sort of the same kind of, feel and kavanah. B'ezrat Hashem, our Siddur is coming out soon. Siddur Od Yosef Chai from Aram Son over there. He allocates it beautifully and how to do that. And we definitely have to understand that fear of God has to come first. You cannot fear. You cannot have the fear. And now we come to the outlining that being psychologically healthy is also a pekuach nefesh issue. It's also an issue of, God forbid, a person, to death. I asked Rabbi Bergil, my rabbi, many months ago. We had a situation where a person committed suicide. And I asked, what's the situation with that person who committed suicide? And I said, does that person have Kaddish? Does he have Avilut? Does he have the ability does he have Gan Eden? Does he have heaven? And he wrote me the responsa, which we'll definitely put it up in our responsa section of our New York Beit Din website. And for sure it'll be on our hovadia.org site, that it's not specific, mental health. If a person, because of his mental health, commits suicide, he is not a person who's considered ma'abed atzmo ledat, where he is forsaking his own mind. He's lost his mind, and he now killed himself. He says that, and therefore he has no avelut. He has no more. We don't mourn for him. We don't say kaddish for him. We don't bury him. We just bury him, and we bury him separate from the others in the cemetery. He says in this situation for mental health, let's say even not just mental health, a person who lost money, lost millions of dollars, he can't live life, and he takes his own life. In that scenario, that mental health defines him, and he's as a regular person, but it was a health issue that caused it. It's not an issue where realistically speaking, a person who kills himself, God forbid, he kills himself for the fact, the world is a disaster. The world is not normal, and I'm going to kill myself because there's no purpose of living in this world. That's that type of person that we say, no, that person has to be buried in a separate plot. There's no avilut, there's no mourning for him, and there's no kaddish for him. But in this specific situation, mental health, which causes a person to potentially lose his life in any situation of suicide, which is also another issue this pandemic can bring as well. And many of the CDCs, they discuss that the people's Fucci, whatever the guy is, and all the other, Mrs. Burks, Dr. Burks, they all messaged that point. And even, the president mentioned the issue of mental health, and everybody's mentioning the mental health issue. Every leader, every community leader, every government leader is mentioning the mental health issue. So we know that mental health issue is a factor point in our, halachic perception. So now if a person, God forbid, an elderly person got corona, okay, or their children got corona, whatever it would be, and that person is mentally unhealthy, he doesn't want to give up, and he has from a doctor a note or a discussion that for him to feel better or mentally better or emotionally connected with his grandchildren, with his children, to be somewhat connected to them on an important evening like Lela Seder. And again, this is all under the context of health issues. It's all in the context of whether a doctor recommends this to a person because he has a mental health issue or anything underlining that issue, whatever will be with the advice of the doctors. Then and only then did Rabbi Abrajil say that a person should be allowed to, at that condition, to use a Zoom platform or a Skype platform, preferably before Shabbat put up, for them to connect, right, for the Lela Seder. That was the only condition. And in retrospect, all the Rabbanim who went against it, A, some of them did not know Rabbi Abrajil wrote it. B, some of them didn't understand the context of what Rabbi Abrajil was saying. And C, they didn't understand the conditions that Rabbi Abrajil was mentioning. Thereafter, what was happening is that individuals were, rabbinical authorities, and both chief rabbis agreed with Rabbi Abrajil. The letter clearly states that it's only in the context of when a person is in pikuach nefesh of his illness, especially if he has a coronavirus and he's an elderly person and he also has a mental health issue where mentally, if he has that connection, for Lela Seder, because this could be in his mind his last days and he's not, being able to connect with his family before his last days, that can cause him to go into a spiral of death, like the story I mentioned in the beginning that someone presented to me in regards to going cold blue by just going to the gates of the hospital. They felt that's it, they're done, and they just said, I'm out now, Unfortunately, those things could happen. And that's where the Rabbi Abrajil's context of halacha came out. And even it came out with 40 rabbi signatures explaining Rabbi Abrajil's halachic point. And they even reviewed Rabbi Abrajil's halachic point. And Rabbi Abrajil's halachic point is very, very strong. He writes it in his 3-page response, which I have in front of me now. And he clearly defines the definition of what's considered electricity and not electricity, and what's considered nolad, which we know nolad is giving birth to something new on Shabbat, a new concept, new idea, something that wasn't there before Shabbat or Yom Tov on Yom Tov. Now, we also have to take this in specification that from what's clear, that this is a heter of leniency on Yom Tov itself. Nowhere in his response does it include Shabbat. So we got to get that clear for sure. It's only including a Yom Tov setting. Because again, a Yom Tov setting, it's a different setting. It's a more, compared to Shabbat, it's a more laxed setting. Now, I know the word lax can be a little bit, which means easier setting, but the word lax setting, Shabbat and Yom Tov are the same, but we know that Yom Tov, you're allowed to cook on Yom Tov. There's a few things that are different in Yom Tov, right? So we take that in consideration. The second thing that we take in consideration halachically is that if a person is sick, any person who's sick, and he's in a situation where he needs to be able to feel better, just by feeling better. He says, I'm sick. I need the lights off. I need the candle off. that means another individual has the right to come and turn off the candle. This isn't a halachic thing. This is not even argued. This is like universally, everybody knows this halakha. And specific to this situation with the Zoom and the Skype, it's not a definition Rabbi Virgil is explaining. It's not defined as a person who is creating something new. The electric current within the phone or within the computer already is existing. You're not really creating something new, especially if it's left on before before Yom Tov, I apologize. So these are the specific nuances, criteria. Now, I would suggest, obviously, in his tshuva, he does write Skype. He's just giving you Skype as an example. Skype, I wouldn't suggest to use the Skype. Skype is a little bit more complicated to use. Zoom is probably the best platform to use as of now, or anything that of the like of Zoom, where the recipient could be the children in their house and their computer. They just got to turn on the Zoom. And then what happens is the grandparents who are sick, who have that issue of mental health, and on top of that, the coronavirus, and now they're getting, they're getting from the doctor, they say, yeah, you should definitely have some sort of connection psychologically to feel connected with your family in order to build a little bit more morale into his healing process. Then it's even better to use the Zoom. So basically all they got to do is just open their Zoom, press in the ID or press the link, and they're automatically connected to the kids in the Zoom platform. Right. So that's the best way to do it. Of course, the kids themselves and the grandchildren shouldn't be using the Zoom or touching the Zoom at all, after Yom Tov. I mean, I think that's without any question that you shouldn't be doing that. Ultimately, these are conditions and details that have to be presented to every rabbinical figure. Right. So just like all the doctors in the world, and especially in the CDC, they say you should really talk to your doctors in regards to any medication for the coronavirus, for therapeutics. Right. So in the rabbinical world, we go through the same features. We say basically, yeah, this is the responsa. This is the halacha. This is a potential situation that in the criteria of A that we said that a person is sick, his mental issue can affect him, and his mental instability mental and emotional instability can affect his healing process. All these things we need to be talked to a doctor. Then after that, you go to your rabbi, say, call the Rav, my rabbi, this and this is the situation. So we're just creating a Jew is creating a psak, a ruling where other rabbis can take the situation and understand whether this should be applied to the individual that he has in front of him. So we got to understand, and this is where peoples are making huge errors in their understanding of halachic rulings. So there are halachic rulings that are blanketed halachic rulings. And there are halachic rulings that is an exemption of halachic ruling, but you still need access to a rabbinical figure to explain to him your scenario, and he needs to be able to see if your scenario fits into the halachic ruling that Rabbi Virgil presented, or any other rabbi presented, the chief rabbis, Rabbi Yosef in his context of his books, Rabbi Yitzchak Yosef, Rabbi David Lau as well. So these things are so important, Rabbi Amar. And don't be, and we have to understand, we cannot belittle Rabbi Virgil. He's the chief rabbi of the rabbinical courts of Jerusalem. Even though you retired, Ma'alim bekodesh v'lo moridin, we say you always stay in the status, you never lose your status. Even as a chief rabbi, Rabbi Amar, even though he's not an active chief rabbi, he still hasn't lost his status of chief rabbi. So we take these things in major consideration, and we have to take these things in major consideration. We also have to know how to deal with these scenarios. So in coming time, when a person's learning halacha and listening to these things, he has to know how he's listening to them. Unfortunately, the newspapers and the detailed propaganda machines, which personally, honestly, Jewish newspapers are very, very, very difficult in accuracy. They're just not accurate. Their level of journalism is beyond fail. They're not presenting accurate information, and they're not presenting information to its full context. And we definitely have to take that into consideration and take that and scrutinize every single newspaper in the Jewish community to present the right information. This is, by the way, one of the main reasons why I'm starting my podcasts and getting more, involved in this, is because scrutiny is very important. I mean, you're not going to bring your car into a mechanic and say, no, I don't need you to give me, I don't need you to be honest. Tell me the fake. Tell me don't tell me the realities of what's going on with my car. Yeah, because who would do that? Your car, God forbid, can get into an accident. It can lose, it can lose its positioning. Who knows? You want scrutiny in your car when you're getting it fixed. So you definitely want scrutiny when people are presenting information for it to be accurate. So I created a new model in life. If you can't write it, don't say it. Very simple. All right. And if you want to say it and you want to write it, make sure you're quoting who said it and where you got it from. So that's very important. So I wish everybody bracha v'atzlacha. I hope I kind of opened up this thing of, this point to see, for people to kind of get this Zoom halacha uncoded and explained and really presented properly. So Chag Sameach, happy Passover.
And the moving like a wave, my body fluid like the ocean. I don't waste my time with troubles, too late. I win, countdown, blast off, strapped up, strapped in. Now it's pounding like my heart, just like the rhythm in the street. My body grooving from my head to my feet. Just feel the beat. Just feel the beat. Feed the field and meter, uptown tempo, tapping, blowing out